Welcome to the BAM Sports Show.
I carefully place all of it in various trash cans around.
Any other headlines you guys are interested in tomorrow?
I'll poop in a urinal.
It's going to be a wet one.
He shoots, he scores, you suck.
Rick's wife is going to make him sleep in the bathroom tub tonight.
A dark horse candidate of where I may eventually want to end up living for good.
Welcome to a brand new sports show experience coming through your wavelengths. Let's get ready to have some fun. So sit back, crack open a drink, and let's talk some sports.
Heyo! Welcome to the BAM Sports Show, the world's okayest sports show every Friday night live on YouTube. And once again, we are without BAM himself. But I did manage to coax a guest star here with me. Here with me is my good buddy Charles, who
Star is a it's a very big word to use for me right now. More like guest person, guest dude, guest guy I pulled off the street that I happen to be in a frenemy relationship with of talking shit to about his Cowboys.
Well, no, not my Cowboys. Not my Cowboys.
My Cowboys. Yes, my Cowboys. I'm even wearing the hat right now. I got it. Star Wars Cowboys. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's disgusting. Look at that.
I know.
Look at that.
I know, right?
Well, no, Charles is a good buddy of mine. I'm in a fantasy football league of his by way of another friend of mine that I met through another group of friends.
We're like fantasy football third cousins now. What is it?
We're like fantasy football third cousins, pretty much.
Twice removed, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But unfortunately, the other fellas have some stuff going on tonight. They're a little bit preoccupied, so I was going to be riding solo, and I figured rather than sitting here sounding like an idiot, I'd have somebody that knows something or another about sports that I really don't pay attention to that much. And so here we are. So, yeah. So, Charles, what am I thinking? I don't know, man. What are you
thinking? What are you drinking? What are you thinking?
Unfortunately, I'm not drinking anything right now, which is a problem.
Neither am I. That is a problem.
Much unlike myself, because I actually got the night off yesterday, which is very, very rare for us. We've been working crazy hours at the base and we got a random night off. And so Fridays are usually my Saturday. I usually work Sunday through Thursday. Mm-hmm. So, but hey, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. And the opportunity to talk some sports, I'll take that each and every single time too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got some sports going on tonight. I think the Stars are playing. I think we had ourselves a nice little closeout game there by the Panthers. The Florida Panthers took care of the Boston Bruins. They are outski game six.
Yeah.
It seems. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they're already gone.
I've got to say, like over the past couple of years, the Florida Panthers have been a huge surprise for me. For the longest time, it just felt like they were just the, kind of the whatever team out there, in the NHL, right? And now these past couple of years, they've been really damn good. They've been dominant.
They've built themselves a program down there for sure. And,
they really did.
And of all things, you had the Tampa Bay Lightning success a couple of years back. Then
mm-hmm.
they beat my Stars in the I believe the COVID Cup, as I'll call it. Yeah. So Florida of all places, the place for hockey in America. What is this?
Right.
The Canadians have got to be pissed. Fucking Florida, man.
And that's always the kind of puzzling thing too. It seems like the Canadian teams just never really shake out for whatever reason or the other in the playoffs. Of course,
this year, I mean that if you've watched any of the series, just listening to the fans and how through the TV you can hear just in Edmonton and the Canucks as well. Like it feels like your TV's shaking because it is wild up there. Those people are lubed up and ready to
it's about time. It is about time, and fitting that the two Canadian teams should be playing each other in this particular series.
Right.
Obviously, Vancouver leading by one game right now.
Mm-hmm.
They win again tomorrow night, and they're through to the next round.
Lots of closeout games. Lots of closeout games in the next couple days. Not just including.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, not just including the NHL though. I mean, it's going. I believe tonight in the NBA, the Pacers are playing the Knicks, and it's in the fourth, and Pacers are looking to tie it up. It seems up 92-75. So got 10 minutes to go in that game. It's closeout central, man.
I will say, just kind of looking over the NBA official playoff bracket, obviously the only one to clinch the next round so far is the Boston Celtics.
The East is Boston's coming out of the East. It's done.
Yeah,
like the East is I mean, Boston would the only team that I think could give Boston the most trouble is not the Knicks. Just because I know Jalen Brunson's playing out of his mind, but it's just him right now. It's him and a bunch of dudes, which you need a little bit more in the NBA nowadays. You got to have at least a second star that doesn't have to be necessarily the best star, because I wouldn't call Jamal Murray some sort of blow it away star with Jokic, but yeah, the Pacers though I think would have a better shot at competing with Boston at this point in time. But I don't think anybody is.
Sure.
I think it's all Boston.
No, but all I was trying to get at was just that it seems like it is an all-around pretty competitive conference semifinals. I know you guys are looking to clinch against the Oklahoma Thunder, which I would be more than okay with, because just as a general note, I'm pretty anti-Oklahoma, all things sports.
You know what? We agree on that, Rick. We agree
on one thing. We agree on one thing, which I know is only your first time in the show, but if anybody that knows old Chuck and I's relationship, it's usually there's a lot of fireworks, but in a good way. I've enjoyed the trash talk and the banter. Yeah, but no, I'd be okay with that. And honestly, I haven't watched basketball that much, but I think that Denver ends up advancing over the Timberwolves, and I hope
even after that ass kicking of a game that was last night, I just don't see Nikola Jokic being that bad. He wasn't terrible, but he scored 22 points. But I just don't see them performing that poorly in the next game. I just don't see that happening.
Sure.
Look, don't get me wrong. I think Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, Anthony Edwards and Cat. That's a dynamic combo right there, a young combo. But I think kind of like the OKC, they're young, and they're young and dumb and don't really know. They haven't been here before type thing. And I know that, that shouldn't really matter, but for whatever reason in the NBA over any other professional sports, that experience in the playoffs tends to actually matter. Like, it's not like in the NFL where you have that young team that can come out of nowhere and be the team. Like, Houston's not really a dark horse this year. They're kind of a problem, Right. But in the NBA, it's like you have a young team. You've got to kind of go in. I mean, even Michael Jordan, he went in a number of times into the playoffs, got knocked out in the first round, and got his ass beat. But guess what? Came back, figured it out over time.
Yeah.
Of course, getting Scottie Pippen kind of helped.
That helps. That definitely helps. No, my whole thing with it is, and I'm not talking out of any recent NBA fandom experience whatsoever, but rather just because of course it would be type of thing. And I'm talking specifically about the Denver Nuggets because of their owner, who is part of the Kroenke family. If you don't know who the Kroenke family is,
fuck those
people on the show know that I have a strong disdain for one Enos Stanley Kroenke, otherwise known as Stan Kroenke, the owner of the Los Angeles Rams, along with I believe the Colorado Avalanche, and I believe the Denver Nuggets as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
I believe you are correct.
If they do end up going through the next round, go Mavericks.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, the Mavericks are one team. The Mavericks and the Stars, I've never, as much trash as you hear me talk about Texas teams, I really don't have, although I don't pay much attention to basketball, but I remember going to Mavericks games. It was a lot of fun. And I know that the Stars are kind of a rival of my St. Louis Blues. But I've never really had an issue with them. And I know that they're great competition. They always play us insanely hard. Hell, I remember even back in the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs. You know, when the Blues finally got their first Stanley Cup trophy.
Yes, they did.
The Stars, I tell you what, the Stars were easily our toughest opponent in that playoffs.
Absolutely. Every series that we play against y'all tends to be a knockdown, drag them out series.
Oh yeah,
and I'm the same way with St. Louis. I don't hate St. Louis. I don't hate the Blues. I mean, who was your coach that year?
Right now, oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
Was it Hitchcock?
No, I believe it was Craig Berube. Yeah, Hitchcock is our coach now.
Okay.
But the one that we had, and he was an interim coach. We just signed him to, I believe, a 2-year deal.
Okay.
But he was the coach of one of our minor league affiliates, and so they'd hired him after they got rid of Craig Berube. They ended up hiring one of the minor league guys up, and they just signed him to a 2-year deal. And I just saw actually that Craig Berube is set to become the new head coach of the or the new skipper, if you will, of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think that they're getting a hell of a deal on him.
Yeah,
so I think Berube is actually one hell of a coach. He's a hell of a coach.
He's put together good teams. Definitely has.
Absolutely. Yep. So that's our
sports landscape right now.
Yeah, that's hockey and baseball in a nutshell. So who do you think? Do you think that Pacers and Knicks series right now?
Yes.
You said that the Pacers are up, right?
Yeah, they're up. I mean, they're up by 20 right now with 8:20 in the fourth to go. So it's looking like it's going to a game 7, and that would be a game 7 at Madison Square Garden. I mean, basketball in Madison Square Garden in New York this time of year is always a good thing. It's good for the sport no matter what. Even though the Knicks are always kind of meh, I'm kind of glad, even though if you think about the fact that Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson were taken in the same draft by the Mavericks. I mean, granted, I'm not complaining about Kyrie Irving. He's been nothing but, a fantastic player for us. But just consider the idea if we had managed to actually sign Brunson like we should have. Basically, if Rick Carlisle hadn't given a big old fuck you to Jalen Brunson his first year, because Rick Carlisle has never been good at developing young talent. It's just not his forte. He doesn't like playing young guys. It's not how he got there. But man, I'm not upset for him. I'm very happy for him because, I mean, you love seeing him be successful up there, and he's a stud, man. He's proven to be one of the best point guards in the game.
100%. I will say, in Dallas's favor, this is probably, Luka, this is probably the most hype I've seen around a Mavericks player since the Dirk Nowitzki days, which I love to see.
Yes.
He's a hell of a player. I don't watch basketball that much, but from what I have watched, it's usually the Mavericks, and he's a hell of a player.
It's magical, dude. I mean, think of Luka like a 4-inch shorter version of Jokic that moves a little bit faster, but basically Jokic and Luka are kind of the same player. And obviously they play a different position, but that capability to pass, rebound. I mean, European basketball is kind of being taught more like soccer, or more like football, if you will, because in European, in soccer over there, they're talking. They want you to get assists. They want you to do the dirty work and they want you to be a fully all-around player. And so, because that allows you to play positionless, in essence, basketball, which is another form of, soccer, hockey, that kind of divided field type thing.
Sure.
Continuous play going on at the same time. So it's really kind of awesome seeing the European thought process of soccer being put into the basketball, and it's proving to work. These European players are coming in and they're kind of good. It used to be they're soft, this, that, and the other. Well, you're not calling Luka soft right now. I can tell you that.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, so it should be a pretty exciting conclusion to the conference semifinal. So who do you got? Obviously, you're going to take your Mavs, which I'd be okay with. Upset over the number 1 seed, that's always entertaining.
I had them in 6 in my head. In my heart, or no, I'm sorry. In my heart, I had them in 6. In my head, I was like 7. But Kyrie Irving is 13-0 in closeout games.
Oh, there you go.
So
There you go. So we're gonna take on the western side. We go in Dallas and Denver.
I honestly think the Denver and the Minnesota game is such a toss-up just because, but I do expect a bounce back from Denver. I expect that game to be extremely close. And isn't it? I want to say Minnesota has the. No, it is in Denver. Okay, yeah, Denver's the 2nd seed. So Denver's at home. I mean, I would give the edge to Denver, just because they are at home, and
Sure.
and they, being the champs, probably have a little bit more wherewithal. I mean, I think the odds should probably be in Denver's favor, but I could easily see, I could see Minnesota coming out, but I think Denver's going to win. I think you're right. Denver's going to win just because they're the champs. They're at home. It's game 7. You
Right.
know, you came back. You won 3 in a row after being down 0-2. That's huge.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we're going. So you calling your shot?
yes, I'm
Dallas
calling
and Denver in the
Denver
Western
and Dallas in the next round in the Western Conference Finals.
What about the East?
Well, Boston obviously is already there, and I
Sure.
don't think it fucking matters. Doesn't really matter. It's
Boston's
gonna be
gonna come out of
Boston.
the East.
Yeah, but if I have to choose somebody, gun to my head, I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with the Pacers, even though it's gonna be in Madison
Really?
Square Garden. I do think that the Pacers will overpower. I think that as good as Brunson has played, I mean, he has to put up like 40 a night just for them to stand a chance. And if Rick Carlisle, even though he's never been really a defensive guru, if you will, if he can figure out a way to merely make it difficult on Jalen and make his other teammates beat him, which is what he's done tonight, then that's where they're going to succeed. If they can make the role players have to beat them, like, that's where you're going to succeed. That's what the Mavs are doing. The Mavs are like, hey, they have decided that your role players are not going to get their open threes, right? And Shea isn't going to be able to get to the basket easy. We're going to put a hand in his face every time. He's going to make his mid-range jumper. He's Shea. He's that good.
Right.
It's like the claw, and he was the same way. The claw, even though he's injured and all, whatever. But he's the same way. That mid-range jumper is what killed the Mavs. But the thing is, you live with that and don't give away the 3. And
Right.
And the thing is our defense is stupid right now. So I think that's kind of the same thing that Rick should do. If you're smart, take away the thing, put it in the hands of other people. Don't let him beat you.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I have to take your word for it. Like I said, I'm not super huge into basketball, but it does seem like Boston's been pretty damn dominant, so they're probably going to come out of the East.
They're just really
curious
good.
on what your thoughts are if indeed it ends up shaking out the Western Conference between Dallas and Denver. Which one are you more worried about? Are you more like, if assuming Dallas gets past Oklahoma?
Mhm.
Who are you more worried about as a Mavericks fan? You more
Minnesota or Denver?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I probably in this case I'm going to go Minnesota, and I know that seems strange, but the reason why is because look, we had issues with Minnesota most of the year because they just match up well to us. They had those 2 bigs. I mean, they're starting 2 7-footers. They start 2 7-footers. One that is a traditional center, Gobert, who is basically our 2 centers, Gafford and Lively combined. He's better than they are defensively because he's the defensive player of the year like 4 times or something ridiculous. I mean,
Right.
the dude's obviously he gets beat by Jokic, but Jokic is the MVP. That happens. But then he has a night where he shuts Jokic down. So the dude's a stud, Gobert, and then Cat. Look, dude's a 7-foot, freaking can shoot it from anywhere, and is coming into his own, especially with Anthony Edwards as his teammate. I think that Conley being back at point guard is more important to that stirring of the drink, if you will. He's kind of the stabilizing factor, the veteran stabilization, if you will, at the point guard position. It kind of lets that offense simmer a lot better whenever he's in the game than say, whenever he's not there. Whenever he wasn't there, you could see they had a lot more issues offensively. So I do think that Minnesota is the one that we're more worried about. If I had to worry, personally, though, look, I don't see anybody being able to defend in the next round, Luka or Kyrie, like OKC is. I know everybody's talking about how Kyrie's not scoring as many points. Well, I can tell you why. OKC actually has super athletic, like young, like lengthy defensive players. Okay.
Sure.
That matches up very well versus Kyrie. And don't get me wrong, Kyrie's still getting his, but he's also doing a lot of dirty work on defense. And so I think that we would match up better versus a Denver where, look, I'll take the Doncic versus whoever Denver can put on him because they're not going to be as good as Dort. And I'll take, anybody that they want to put on Kyrie because they're not going to be as good as, Shea and all those other guys that have been guarding Kyrie. That's just what it is. OKC has better defenders, at least perimeter wise, and down low. I think we're going to get more. Jokic is good, but I don't think defensively, our pick and roll is going to work a lot better versus Denver than it has versus OKC. Even though that's where we've been eating is down low. This looks like 90s basketball, dude. Like if you watch the games, they are getting it.
I got to be honest, after having talked to you for a little bit about this, I'm actually a little bit intrigued. I used to be a lot bigger into basketball whenever I was a kid, but just haven't really been keeping up with it. But after having talked about this a little bit, I might actually jump in and watch some of the NBA playoffs.
There are some. I think the changing of the guard that's happening right now, that you're seeing the next generation of superstars truly taking over, because LeBron and Steph kind of dominated. For the past from the tens, if you will, they've kind of been the dominating force of going to the championship. Hell, LeBron went to 8 in a row. So and Steph has won his championships. But that group is kind of aging out, and you're getting that next gen of superstars.
Sure.
Jokic, Luka, Antetokounmpo, Anthony Edwards showing up. Maybe he's becoming kind of a superstar, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. All these guys are kind of taking the reins. And isn't this funny with how the pendulum has swung, it seems, with these superstars? It used to be LeBron was Mr. Recruited, but that kind of has slowed down. He was able to do it once more with Anthony Davis and get his asterisk, championship in the COVID bubble. But other than that, the recruitment game has changed. I see superstars being like, my legacy is better if I stay somewhere. Right. And yes, I can bring in that Robin character, that second guy, but you're seeing it with Jokic right now and Antetokounmpo. They're staying at home, and they're bringing guys in. So we'll see if that keeps playing out the way it is, because I think that they're learning that you don't have to be in the big market,
right,
to be successful.
Yeah, I guess you have a point there, man. Should be interesting to see how all of it shakes out for sure. I kind of want to shift focus a little bit here, kind of moving on from hockey and basketball, and talk a little bit about baseball.
All right.
So I think for me, there's been, still relatively early in the season, but there's definitely been some surprises for me this year as far as what we expected out of teams coming into the season. And again, understood, it's still very, very early.
Very early, yes.
Very
It's
early.
a long base. That 163 is a long season.
Absolutely. But, I want to say that I'm shocked that the Cardinals are as terrible as they are, but I'm not. You would think with that roster they'd be a whole lot better, but I 100% believe that we need to get rid of Marmol yesterday. He's terrible. I've seen rumblings that Skip Schumacher, current manager of the Miami Marlins, would be a potential candidate to replace Marmol if we end up getting rid of him, and I'm 100% for it. And I will tell you, if if the other guys were on the show, they would be shit talking me and just laying it on thick because they are diehard Cubs fans. But they have absolutely every right to. The Cardinals are absolutely terrible this year. But outside of them, kind of a surprising thing for me is how the AL West is kind of shaken out early on.
Yeah,
We see.
Yeah, it's 500 baseball pretty much from everybody in there,
Pretty much, yeah.
And that doesn't surprise me, especially with. Look, Seattle's got talent. They've had talent for a number of years. They just haven't put it together. And this, Houston is an aging, they've aged, right? They've aged out. The cheaters have aged out, and trash can boys, all that stuff. And the Rangers, our issue has nothing to do with anything other than we are just decimated by injury.
Right.
Like
100%.
It is. I'm sitting here right now, and I know that Trevor Bauer has a giant old black ball on his ass from the MLB, but I'm looking at the Rangers. I'm like, bro.
Yep. No, it's
sign a brother, because you know what?
It's like I said, the AL West has kind of surprised me. The fact that, like you said, it's pretty much 500 baseball across the board, save for the Athletics and Angels, but they've been terrible for a while. Save for that stretch a little while back when Pujols was playing for the Angels.
For the first time or the second time?
Right, yeah. Right. But no, and I believe, right now, we've actually got shockingly, Cardinals above the Red Sox, 9-5 at the bottom of the 8th. Although the Red Sox, how are they doing this year? How are the Red Sox this year?
They're 500 baseball as well.
Yeah, 500. Yeah, so shocker. Yeah, we beat, cool. We won against a mediocre team.
I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on what has occurred in terms of Tommy John surgery, even after this pitch? Because the pitch clock, I think, greatest thing that they brought into baseball. Fantastic.
100%. The pitch clock is phenomenal. It's a faster paced game. It's a better overall experience, both from watching. Baseball is always going to be better in seat, like live in person,
yes.
As opposed to watching it on TV. But I think, and I don't mind watching it on TV.
It makes it palatable, I think.
100%. I find myself oftentimes, if there's nothing else going on at the house, I find it a lot more enjoyable just to have baseball, just to have something on. Like, and if I'm cooking in the kitchen or something, and I just want to hear sports in the background. One thing you can always say about baseball is it's there. You can watch a game pretty much year round, but a much, much more entertaining product with the pitch clock for sure. I'd be curious. I'm not sure if they have, although I'm sure they had to have, but even in like the, at the AAA level and AA level.
Oh, they tested it for a number of years, but I think they're seeing a correlation possibly and I think it's a combination of things. I don't think the pitch clock is the sole reason why you're seeing more Tommy John surgeries. I think the main sole reason is that these guys are every single pitch trying to throw as hard as they can physically, and if you do it and don't put your legs into it, that's what they talk about all the time on these announcers. Oh, he's got his legs into it. Oh, he doesn't have his legs into it. The minute you don't have your legs into it, that's the minute that pressure gets on that tendon, and you're gone for a year. Hello, Jacob deGrom.
Right. And it just speaks to the importance of having a quality bullpen. Cardinals.
I think it also speaks to. I think that the MLB needs to consider expanding the rosters during the regular season a little bit more, so that you can have more bullpen, and maybe just expand it in terms of just pitcher as a position. Maybe say, okay, we're going to expand it, but we're not going to let you have any position players. They have to be all pitchers or whatever else. 3 more, whatever, because it's. Look, I think that you're going to see as time goes on, you're not going to – first of all, I know that we get perfect games and these and stuff like that every now and then, but I think that's going to – the full 9-inning game is about to go the way of the dodo for the most part, just 100%, because of health.
Especially – right. You just hit the nail right on the head, with these guys with the pitch clock, them still trying to clock, 95 plus an hour fastballs every pitch,
throwing everything with every ounce of energy.
Yeah, with that pitch clock not having really much time to let your body recover in between. 100%, they're going to keep their health more in mind. Like, yep, learned our lesson. Don't want to throw my shoulder out anymore. So I'm not going to throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball every pitch.
Right.
So I wonder what that's going to do from an offensive standpoint too. Like, are we it's just going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out.
The shift going away definitely helped. I mean, look, here's a prime example. Corey Seager is the poster child of the shift chain. Even though he could hit it opposite field and whatever else and hit it wherever he wants, the shift going away did nothing but help people like Corey Seager, who are, even though he has power, he can hit for average. Those guys that do hit for average now, they become far more valuable than they were whenever the shift, really came into vogue and was. I mean, we what was it, 2 years ago? We didn't the numbers of how many balls were in play was ridiculously low. Like you were like, you're either getting a fly ball, strikeout, or home run. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all there was, or a ground out right into the shift every time.
Right.
So I think the shift going away has already helped the offensive aspect, but I do think that the pitching being probably starting pitchers, you might see guys only go now 4 innings and then the bullpen takes over. Or sometimes they're only going 2 times through the lineup because they don't want to. They don't think they can make it a 3rd time through. So when you have that aspect in play, that actually doesn't necessarily help the batters because it all depends on who's coming in. But typically what happens when you get to the bullpen is what? The batters end up getting to them usually. So I don't think that offensively it's going to be affected much by the pitchers pitching less innings. I think it all just comes down to player health. And when you're spending this much money on them, the owners are going to be like,
just ridiculous money on
less health.
Just
less
cartoon money.
Yeah.
Just cartoon money on these players.
Yeah, I'm spending $20 million for Lever.
Right. One, I think it kind of amplifies, the age-old question, especially like in blowout games, right? Where they talk about like, hey, do you just keep beating the hell out of the ball, like, to force them to, bring more of their bullpen out, or do you just, try to get the game over with, rest your players? I wonder how much this is going to amplify that, because you're probably already going to see.
Well, if you're talking playoff series, I can tell you this: if you're talking a playoff series, then they're gonna try to pile it on every time and get to your bullpen as much as possible. However, 100%. There's also a line where you go, okay, it's 8-0, and we're in the 7th, 8th inning of game 2. We won game 1. I'm just gonna put in my shitty ass pitcher and just, if he gets hit, he gets hit. I don't care. Go finish the game, bro. Go for, we're not going to waste our good arms on this game unless you need somebody that just needs some work just because. So there's a fine line in that, and that's the beauty of baseball, man. There's so many ways to do it. I mean, these there are few and far between. Managers now don't matter as much as they used to, right? They don't have the same impact as this. At least that's what people think. And then I say, well, Bruce Bochy sure shit does, but hey, the managers, I don't think do as much as they used to. That's why you see their pay is drastically dropping, right? What's really happening with managers is the GM is becoming more of the manager. The GM is almost setting the lineup for a lot of these teams, and
Right.
there are certain teams obviously where they're not, and those teams typically usually are pretty successful because they have an actual manager that manages.
Right. Yeah, no, it should be. Oh, one thing I forgot to bring up, and I know this is not really news so much, but kind of I don't mean to backtrack here, but one thing I wanted to ask you about for hockey. I'm not sure if you saw a little while back, but the Arizona Coyotes ended up pulling out of Arizona. And from what I saw, it looks like all signs point to them moving to Salt Lake City. But they haven't, unless you happen to know, I don't see anything about like what their branding is going to be or where they're going to play or anything like that. Do you know anything?
I have not heard anything in regards to where they're going. I know that in reality, I think this is just a business decision by the NHL. This comes down to they just want a more active fan base, and Arizona they're not a hockey place in Arizona, and you've been able to make hockey places in certain like Florida and in Tampa Bay and these areas that have become successful hockey towns, but Arizona just wasn't it. And I commend the ownership and the NHL for making that decision. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it should be a business decision. Now, in terms of getting new other franchises, Seattle needs to get themselves another basketball team, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, I was stoked when they got the Kraken. Because
Yes.
Honestly, like I said, mind you, when I was stationed up there, I was stationed just outside, a couple hours north of Seattle. When I was stationed up there with the Navy. But I love the Seattle sports market, and I know people there are still
they're raving fans, man. Their soccer teams got raving fans.
100%. Like, and you still see people rocking their Sonics gear. But the sports market up there is fantastic. So when I saw them get the Kraken, I thought that was fantastic. So 100%, they need to get a basketball team. 100%. I'm actually while we were talking, I was kind of reading into this, and it looks like as of right now, that team that is the Arizona Coyotes is considered an inactive franchise, but they have confirmed the move to Salt Lake City. It looks like, they haven't released like their branding or their team identity or anything like that, but they are going to use the Utah moniker rather than Salt Lake City. So it'll be the Utah whatever.
Something or another's. Yeah.
Right. Instead of
they're not an expansion franchise. They're just literally moving. That's it. So.
Yeah, which it made sense. I remember before, an official decision was made, like when it was still kind of up in the air, are they going to move? Are they not? I know it was a whole thing. They had proposed, staying in Arizona, but just, moving to, I think it was like Phoenix or something like that, or somewhere else there in Arizona. I can't remember the city off the top of my head, but the negotiations with building a new arena there on taxpayer dime got shot down. And so, it is what it is. Obviously, it was like you said, it was a business decision. I know Houston was kind of in the running. They had an arena already ready to go.
Yep.
But no, I mean, Utah's a solid market, I think, for hockey.
Oh,
so.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good market for hockey. I do believe they have a good, fan base of basketball, the Utah Jazz, and it's a solid, sports town that is kind of like St. Louis, one of those, you don't expect it to be such a good sports town, but it is. It's a great sports town.
Yep. Got a fan comment here. Our good old buddy Shannon, aka my older brother, chipping in, saying he's looking forward to hearing Joe Buck and Chip coming in back to announce the Cubs Cardinals game next Friday.
Love Joe Buck.
I was gonna say, I think he gets such a worse rep than what he deserves. I really don't have a problem with Joe Buck. And he's a pro St. Louis sports guy through and through. Even when, listen to him on NFL broadcast. I've never had an issue with him. I don't think any of his commentary is really all that bad. He's certainly better than some of the other shit that we've heard out there.
Look,
like Booger McFarland or Joe Tessitore.
Booger McFarland's trash, bro.
But I will tell you this much: Booger McFarland, he was so bad that like I actually enjoyed having him. Like watching him.
Yes,
like
he was. I think they were trying to pull a Charles Barkley with him, but he just didn't have the Charles Barkley personality that's necessary for it. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And basketball is such a different thing when it comes to the old heads talking. You know, because they're just
right.
They're the dudes.
In fact, I want to see if I could pull it up. Give me just a second here.
Do it. Do it.
But my all-time favorite Booger McFarland quote. Let me see if I can find it. I will never not share this when given an opportunity.
Oh, Lord.
Let me see if I can find it.
Booger fucking McFarland. First of all,
yes.
Who names your kid Booger?
I don't know if that's like
actually I know.
But let's see here. Share screen. Okay, yeah, I found it. This is by far my all-time favorite.
Oh boy.
Shoot. Hang on. Nope. Yep. I don't know how to do it. Anyway, this is my all-time favorite Booger McFarland quote.
When you look at Kelvin Benjamin, guys, he's 6'5", he's 245 pounds. He's probably a Popeye's biscuit away from being a tight end, and he has trouble getting separation.
Look, he was trying to pull exactly what Bill Parcells tried to talk about Roy Williams. When we had the safety, Roy, he's a biscuit away from being a linebacker. Well,
you know what's funny though?
It's not a bad quote.
Oh yeah, but I mean, he would say the dumbest shit sometimes. Like I remember, it was a playoff game, I believe, between the Houston Texans and the Buffalo Bills back when Deshaun Watson was still playing for the Texans, and he said something to the effect of like, I think it was like 3rd and 10 or something like that, or 3rd and 8, 3rd and relatively decent distance, and he was like, if I'm Sean McDermott, you almost just run it up the middle and see if you can get 2 or 3 yards and then spike the ball to save some time. Or God, do you remember the Booger Mobile at stadiums?
Oh, dude, look, you can give Booger all the shit you want, but you know who was even worse than Booger?
Joe Tessitore.
Okay, yes, but Jason fucking Witten. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
dude.
God love him.
Oh, poor guy.
He's one of the few Cowboys that I actually like. Like he's one of the few, and I can't emphasize that enough. But he's one of the few Dallas Cowboys that I actually like. But yeah, he's painful to listen to.
It is awful to listen to him trying to not. He made the right decision after he did the spray hair and just went back to the NFL, played a year, got another touchdown.
Speaking of former NFL tight ends in broadcasting, do you see that Greg Olsen is actually getting demoted?
What?
Yeah. So
I love Greg Olsen.
He's going to be but he's not quite as bad as Jason Witten, but he's pretty rough as well. I love him.
I'm on the other side of that, Rick. I'm sorry. I don't have a problem with Olsen. I like the insights that he gives. I think that he generally, as a color analyst, is giving you good information. I mean, and he's not sitting there stumbling over himself while he's doing it. He was able to hone his craft a little bit more than Jason was, and I think it's weird. Now, who's he getting demoted for though?
I forget. I read it.
Is it Tom Brady? Because
he's actually. I think he's going to call the first game of the season. Like he's going to provide, if I remember reading that correctly. But no, I was just scrolling through my phone either yesterday or early today, and I remember just reading an article about it. He's getting moved to like the Fox Sports 2 crew or something like that.
It's got to be because of it. I mean, it's got to be because of Tom. Because I know that he signed that deal with Fox. But even before he was officially retired. that, basically when you're done, come on down. And I mean, he's got to make that money for that alimony, I mean,
100%. Yeah.
no,
Did you happen to see the
oh,
the
hell yeah,
Netflix
the roast.
of Tom
Oh,
Brady?
yeah.
Oh my God.
They held nothing back.
No, like even some areas that like I thought they wouldn't touch too much, like, but damn, like they went
I was very
in
surprised that
on the whole like Giselle situation.
Yes.
And the Aaron Hernandez jokes, which, I remember back in the day, like when that first all happened, like Gronk didn't want to say a word about it. I remember he got pissed off at like some interview that like, someone was doing with Gronk and his family. And Gronk got like legitimately like pissed off, that the interviewer like wouldn't quit asking questions about Aaron Hernandez. But even he was up there coking and joking about it, which I was kind of shocked about.
Well, I think that it has to deal with, did they know all the information at the time? Because they knew Aaron Hernandez was little wheels motherfucking off. They knew that.
Right.
They didn't, that's where that brotherhood, kind of thing comes into play, where they didn't necessarily know what he was into on the side. And maybe that's why this is all conjecture here on that. But yes, they went straight up into it on him. The only thing that Tom Brady made stop was he made the roast master guy, whatever his name is, the bald guy.
Oh yeah,
that looks like a bag of dicks.
Yeah,
he made him stop about the Robert Kraft.
Yeah, the massage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that's the thing. That's the
no problem.
Maybe it was a scripted line thing, but still.
Who knows? I don't know, but. No, it was savage. Although I felt like one of probably their strongest act for me. I really enjoyed Gronk's bit. Like he was just being Gronk.
Yes, Gronk bash.
Yeah, but I think probably my favorite one. Oh gosh, what is that comedian? There's this female comedian. Like it was like very very early in the show.
Glazer, Nikki.
Yeah,
Glazer.
Nikki Glazer. She was. I'd never heard of her before.
So hot.
She is hilarious.
But
she was hilarious. That even Gronk was like, "Me know that not real money."
Yes,
I thought that was fantastic.
She was great. The other fellow that's great is the guy that just does not care about it. He's a young guy at the end that does not.
Yeah, he was funny too.
Rat's ass if people like try and cancel him. He's like, "What? What are you gonna do?"
Right. Yeah. No, it was pretty funny. I felt like, God bless Bill Belichick for trying.
Yes.
It kind of felt like the awkward, but I'll tell you what, I was surprised. Robert Kraft actually had some pretty decent jokes up there.
Yeah.
He actually did a better job.
They kept him short. Yeah. They kept it short with Robert. They were like, yeah, we're going to give you your lines.
Right.
And buddy.
Right. He was
he looked like Joe Biden up there, man.
Yeah, really. We'll still.
I don't know where I am. Let me tell you, it's the most fantastic, the most amazing, the best roast you've ever seen. Nobody roasts Tom Brady like I roast Tom Brady. Seriously, people tell me all the time. Oh, that was anyway. That was
fantastic.
The roast was great. I loved every bit of it.
The roast was awesome. The roast was most.
And I think that's Tom Brady doing the smart thing here. It's like, look, if you do that roast now, before you get into, the broadcast game, obviously the bag of $25 million probably helped, but
right.
In general, doing that roast, you get rid of a lot of stigmas against you and kind
absolutely.
of face those naysayers kind of head on and be like, well, it's all been put out there now. Everything that could be completely made fun of me, the worst things you could think of, from my ex-wife and whatever else has been done. So
right.
It's kind of a brilliant PR move on his part.
Yeah, no, and I loved at the end that kind of the awkward moment where Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick do a shot together.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
And only Kevin Hart could make something. Kevin Hart was the perfect
he's great.
host
And I
for
think he gets such a bad rap too for some reason or another, but I love Kevin Hart.
Tom. Fuck you, Tom. Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you, Tom. Yeah. I know. I love Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, very, very, very underrated. Anyway, yeah, but no, that was a great roast. And the Stars got scored on. Well, we might be seeing a game 7 again.
Yeah, shocker. Who y'all playing right now? The other team, the Stan Kroenke. So y'all might be playing.
We're playing the
Kroenke team.
we might be playing 2 different. We're playing one Kroenke team now. Hopefully we can kick that ass out tonight.
Hopefully.
It's 1-0 in the second period. I mean, it's only the second period.
Now, who is that guy? I don't know why I'm blanking right now, but they have this guy. I feel like an idiot that I'm blanking on his name, but Nathan. I can't think of his name.
Talking about the guy that got suspended?
I'm not sure. For the
Nachushkin who got suspended.
No.
Are you talking about McKinnon?
Yes, Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, who's pretty much him and Connor David are probably the 2 best players in all of hockey.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Insane.
He's a stud. He is an absolute stud.
And the Stars
that he plays for the Avalanche.
The Stars have some very good young talent. The main thing, the reason why the Stars are good this year has nothing to do with having the best player on the ice. Though some nights I'm sure they do. The main thing for the Stars is they have 4 lines. They go 4 lines deep, and they have 4 lines that could be ones on, 80-90% of the league. They could be the first line for a lot of teams. So, and they have some young talent. Wyatt Johnson has been fantastic in these plays. And Stan Coven, another rookie. But. That's not how his name is said. That's Stankov is a different player. I'm going to say his name right so I don't.
I know y'all have had.
I was right. Okay.
Y'all have had quality play from your goalie for the past several years as well.
Ottinger is one of the best in the business, especially in the playoffs. Okay, Rick. So what is your prediction? Let's now get to the brass tacks of the NFL, because let's be honest. You don't need to tell me how bad my boys are going to be. I already know, because they're doing a cap dump. It's obvious what they're doing. They are either going to win it all with what they got, which they're not, or they are going to just completely reset after this year. And so take that out of the equation. Let's just go NFL right now. Blind prediction. Give me one surprise team, because remember, most of the time of the 7 teams in the playoffs, only usually 4 of them are replaced in each conference every year.
Sure.
So give me a surprise team. Give me your Super Bowl favorite, way too early Super Bowl favorite. And let's go with that. Surprise team, NFC, AFC, way too early Super Bowl favorite.
Surprise team. For AFC, I don't know that it's necessarily a surprise, because I feel like it's more of a low-hanging fruit, but I actually really like what the Texans roster looks like.
Yep.
I don't think that's much of a surprise, though. That feels like a low-hanging fruit.
because I mean they made the playoffs last year, so is it really a surprise? Maybe not. Could there be a sophomore slump? Maybe.
Right. Well, but then they added Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon, so they look phenomenal.
They look poised to do some damage.
Make a lot of noise. That's tough, man.
So let's take Houston out of the equation, because they're low hanging fruit in terms of AFC. Sure. Somebody who didn't make the playoffs last year. Let's do that.
Didn't make the playoffs.
That will this year, because there's always going to be a couple.
I'm looking at the AFC right now. I'm trying to find like a surprise candidate. The only other one that maybe, I guess we got to see how Aaron Rodgers' health is doing, to consider the Jets. But even then, like, how's he going to look like after that injury? So I guess the only other team from the AFC side that sticks out as a potential dark horse for me And there's not a lot because I feel like the AFC is pretty well set with like the teams that I feel like could probably make the playoffs.
Right.
But the only other team I'm thinking maybe, and this is a long shot, but maybe the Colts.
I don't hate that because of how well that young what's his name, Robinson,
Anthony Richardson,
right?
Richardson,
but right.
They've got to like manage his running the ball.
Yeah, well, and I think that's where you go. You give him a film of Russell Wilson whenever he was younger. And you just say, watch this, and learn from that. But I like that pick out of there. For my money on the AFC, though, I'm actually going to go with the Chargers. I know you're giving me that, but here's the thing. Jim Harbaugh, dude, he is.
Yeah, I don't think not in year one though, man. Not with that roster. Not in year one.
Okay, fair. Maybe not with the roster, but in terms of they're going to be coached better. They are going to be more consistent. They like, look, you have a stud quarterback, and if you have a stud quarterback, you can do a lot. And Harbaugh, the first thing he's doing is giving that stud quarterback time. Give that stud quarterback time in the pocket. Yes, obviously you're going to have to find somebody to throw to, but and that's probably what's going to be happening next year. But he's doing exactly what he did in San Francisco too. Same thing. Go and build up your offensive and defensive line. What a concept. What do you know? The point of attack. It always seems to work. There's a reason why the Steelers, and all these teams that are always consistently in there exist. Point of attack. Of course, it helps to have
they have no weapons. Like there are no weapons. Like as of right now, their wide receiver one is either Josh Palmer or Quentin
Johnson. Yes.
Right. And
don't get me wrong, Quentin Johnson, I think, might make a leap. He was a stud at TCU. He's got all the tools, but you've not seen anything from him.
And then their running back, I know they picked up Gus Edwards.
But, Eckler is
he's in Washington now.
Oh, that's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I haven't even.
That's what I'm saying. So you have no Eckler, you have no Keenan Allen, you have no Mike Williams for 4 games.
Well, they did that. Well, Mike Williams, I think isn't he gone as well?
I believe he's with the Jets now.
Yeah, because they got rid of everybody. They cleaned house with their weapons, which I don't hate. Jim Harbaugh is doing what Jim Harbaugh does, which is get rid of everybody that we don't need. He's going to get a lot of compensatory picks, which is exactly what he did in San Francisco, and he drafted really well.
See, and I don't know about a playoff push, but I guess I can almost buy into that for a similar sentiment that I would make about the Washington Commanders, which is
I hate that, but that's true.
I feel, and I don't know that I necessarily am ready to say they could surprise and make the playoffs, but rather I would put them kind of in a category of teams that finish better than expected.
Teams that you don't want to see late in the season. Teams that probably started like 3-9, but then went on a run where they won 4 in a row or 5 in a row to get to 8 and 9, and or 7 and 10. But that late season push, they're hurting people for playoff positioning. They're not a team you want to see late. I could definitely see that from them because look, Dan Quinn. Other than the way that playoff game went and was coached, he did do good things for the Cowboys defense. Now I think he lost some of he turned into too much. He kind of went too far to the what's that gentleman's name? Wink Martindale kind of.
Oh yeah.
Always blitzing, and that kind of ended up hurting. You got to have a healthy mixture of gap control, good old fashioned defense, and the exotic blitz thing. And I think Zimmer's going to bring kind of a mix to that. I also think that Micah Parsons needs a coach that can get on his ass. But anyway, that's beside the point. But Dan Quinn's a good coach, and he's gonna do good things there. They're going to have a good, solid defense. I mean, They're gonna and offensively, I mean, I think that they're on the right track. They have a new owner that scares me already because just the nature of the beast. We were guaranteed this Redskins, or sorry, the Commanders.
I still call them the Redskins.
Yeah, we're always going to suck because Dan Snyder. Just like the Cowboys will never win a Super Bowl because of Jerry fucking Jones.
Jerry Jones.
You know, it's these are things that are just facts in our world. Well, now we have a completely unknown entity there, but I like Washington as a pick for my NFC. Like, that's going to be. I mean, I don't think it's really. I think it's another kind of low hanging fruit, but that just because I do think that they were playing very well with Justin Fields, but I do think Caleb Williams is better, and they've gotten him some weapons, and they have him a nice little offensive line already there. It's the Bears, man. They should be able to, and that defense is going to be solid. When they got Sweat and there at the trade deadline, it was you could tell the difference that was already happening.
Sure.
So I could definitely see the Bears and their 4th round punter really doing.
You know, they already pretty much had all the pieces between what they did in the offseason and they've got their roster filled out. So
the only thing I think
crazier things have happened.
The only thing that I think they could have done better is like somehow figured out how to trade up to that 3rd pick and take Marvin Harrison Jr. That's the only thing. Don't get me wrong. I love the wide receiver that they got. I think he's going to be a stud anyway because I think there's a lot of good wide receivers. But I just think that of the ones that if there was a more surefire like wide receiver than Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know who it was.
Yeah, I just don't think that because I will tell you what, Chicago's GM, Ryan Poles, he's done a great job. Fantastic. And I don't think he was going to pay the Kings ransom that Arizona was asking for that number 4 pick. I don't think obviously nobody did, but
no.
Chicago was not on my list of people that I thought could or would do it. I think that Ryan Poles is smarter than that. But no, I think for my dark horse candidate, and not to be a homer here, so to speak, but I think, teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that I think are kind of a dark horse candidate this year. And again, not to be a homer here, but why not Seattle? I think a lot of people, Seattle flew kind of under the radar with what they did in the offseason, particularly on the defensive side of the football.
Yes, they did do a lot of good work there.
Yeah, they got Tyler Dodson in particular, Terrell Dodson from the Bills, who was graded, I believe, one of the top linebackers last year.
He was a stud.
You look at the rest of that defensive roster. You got Uchenna Nwosu, you've got Leonard Williams, and now we just drafted Draymond Jones, and we just drafted that kid from Texas. That's going to be an absolute animal.
Yeah. You guys are not getting. Nobody's going up the middle on you on 1st and 2nd down. Let's just say that.
No.
And
I like that guard that we ended up drafting in the 2nd round. Now, certainly, there's still a lot of work to be done.
It all comes down to your quarterback play. That's what it all comes down to. Geno Smith has first of all resurrected his career. Love what I've seen out of him. Like, don't get me wrong, I think that he has made himself, at least now, for the next, he could play for the next 10 years as a backup quarterback. Maybe even still being the starter for Seattle this year and moving forward for a little bit. But I do think that the thing that Seattle is going to have to do, and I know they went and got Sam Howell, and that's a nice little dart throw to throw at the board. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to figure out that quarterback position, and you're going to hate me for this, Rick. But
no, it's not happening. Nope.
Look, I see the path. Here's the thing. I see the path where it could, because Cowboys go this year. Situation happens, right? We don't same old, maybe make the playoffs, get beat in the 1st round, whatever. I could easily see the Cowboys not re-signing Dak. Here's what I really could see. I could see them not re-signing Dak, and the smart thing to do when you don't re-sign Dak is to trade Micah Parsons. But I'll get to that in a second. But not re-sign Dak and then I could see Dak going to a Seattle. Not saying that's the only, because there would be other suitors. I'm sorry, there would be. You can hate him all you want, but he's a top 10 quarterback by the numbers, and somebody's going to pay him to come play for him. I mean, they paid Kirk Cousins. He's the same guy. He's just white. Okay, and so and Dak is a little bit younger. So I could easily see him going to Seattle. I really think the main thing I could see him going to is the Raiders, but that's beside the point.
I could see that.
But the smart thing for the boys to do, if this whole situation is happening, re-sign CeeDee Lamb. Yes, because it's always good to have a rookie quarterback with a really good receiver. Always. Give him a target. Great. Cool. You've got an offensive line that you've kind of been building back up. Great. Cool. Well, then you go trade Micah Parsons. And I know everybody's like, what? Why would you trade Micah Parsons? He's the best. He's fantastic. Yes, he's going to be a stud for the rest of his career.
He's fantastic. He's so good.
He's fantastic. He's the most amazing. Nobody's better than Micah Parsons. Seriously. People tell me all the time. Okay. But, dude, yes, Micah Parsons would get a king's ransom. I mean, go pick your team that you want their pick from and add on 2 more first rounders.
Sure.
And then you're getting in the ballpark of what you're going to be paying for Micah Parsons, because you're getting an elite pass rusher, which we know in the NFL, the 3 most important positions are quarterback, left tackle, and your edge rusher, and then the 4th one is cornerback. But those are your top 4 positions of need for every team, no matter what. And if you can get pressure on the quarterback, that's how you stop a Tom Brady. That's how you stop a Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady, yes, but maybe not Patrick Mahomes. Because
slow down, maybe, but stop. No.
Yeah. Patrick Mahomes is a different animal, and that's kind of what's happening. This next generation of quarterbacks that's coming in, this mobile / can throw the ball anywhere on the field. They're basically shortstops. It's like you're watching, a bunch of Derek Jeters play fucking football now. Which
that's actually a really good comparison.
If I'm a middle school coach, or a high school coach that I just got into a, big 5A, 6A Florida or Texas high school, first thing I'm doing, going to the baseball fields. First thing I'm doing is going to the baseball fields. And I'm going to tell that coach, who's your shortstop? Where is he? No, he can throw the ball anywhere, hit anything, throws it with the rocket. Come here, son. You're going to throw this ball right here.
Yeah.
You're going to be my quarterback.
Hell of a point. Yep. Okay. Well, we've only got a little bit of time here, and you were able to kind of sell me on some basketball earlier, so I would like to try and sell you on a little bit of my world.
Oh, boy.
It's time for the BAM Sports Show Extreme UFL Breakdown.
The Memphis Showboats, they've been waiting a long time and finally back on the field in Tennessee. How big's the crowd? I'll give you the specifics. 38,310 inside the dome today. And they are witnessing the play of the 4th quarter and they were the difference. And so the Birmingham Stallions are the champions of the USFL.
$17,280 in one section to create the beer snake.
Now the celebration can begin. 8.5-point underdogs. Outright winners. The Arlington Renegades are XFL champions.
It is time to talk some spring football to close out the show. Now, Chuck, I know you're not so much into spring football. I've actually really enjoyed it just from a pure, a couple of different things. For me, just from even a casual fan standpoint, I really like the scoring format of what is now the UFL. You used to have 2 separate leagues. Mm-hmm. You had the XFL and the USFL. They've now merged, combined forces, still condensed it down to 8 teams for now.
Right.
But Now it is the UFL. And I think what you've seen, or what we've seen, a lot of the guys here on the show that are normally here, we watch the UFL quite a bit, but the quality of spring football, the play on the field has improved quite a bit. But I think for me, as a casual fan, I love seeing the implementation of new rules. For instance, after the touchdown, there is no kicking for an extra point. You go for either a 1, 2, or 3-point conversion from the 2, 5, or 10-yard line.
Yep.
So stuff like that. The kickoff rules, which the NFL is actually adopting what was the XFL's
I love
kickoff
those,
rules.
by the way. I do love because it brings back the kickoff. And that was
Right.
such an exciting play. So
So
makes the return man actually something again.
I think that just, having, and then probably one of my other favorite things is in the fourth quarter, if the game is either tied or your team is down, in lieu of kicking an onside kick, you have the option to run a play.
4th and 25. Yes.
Now they've shortened it to 4th and 15, but it's like 4th and 15 from, I believe, your own 20 or 25.
That's
stuff like that. Stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. But we are kind of getting into the season, heading into week 8, and we're seeing a couple different things here. Unfortunately, the XFL champion from last year, the Arlington Renegades, the Cinderella story has officially come to a halt. They have been eliminated from any chance of making the playoffs. But we do have some interesting situations here heading into the last few weeks of the regular season. Looking at the standings right now, they have in the USFL conference, both the undefeated Birmingham Stallions and the 5-2 Michigan Panthers have already clinched their spot, which is actually kind of interesting because those two teams actually play each other in the final week of the regular season. And then the next week, they immediately play each other in the conference championship.
Oh, boy.
It's all just a matter of who gets home field advantage, which everything is pointing towards Birmingham getting that as of now.
Well, shoot, if
And
they
then
get
on
to that
the-
last game, does Birmingham just literally go, here's all our,
Right.
third string guys
sure,
and show
Michigan-
nothing? Really just run a vanilla game. Just do we're just going to run nothing but I formation.
Right. They're undefeated right now. They have a 2-game lead over the Panthers, so unless they just somehow end up losing these next couple of weeks and the Panthers keep winning, they really have nothing to fight for in that final week, unless it's, a matter of, who's going to get home field advantage in the conference championship. But then on the XFL side, right now, the St. Louis Battlehawks are still in the lead.
Battlecocks.
But they still have the lead over the division, although they do have a tied record with the San Antonio Brahmas. The tiebreaker with the Battlehawks beating the Brahmas earlier this season gives them technically the 1 seed. They just lost.
Well, they've got a 2-game lead on the conference. It's really a game and a half because they have only played 3 conference games versus San Antonio's 4. But yeah, the 2 losses for San Antonio in the conference is what's going to hurt them there.
Right. And it sucks too. So the Battlehawks, like the 2 games that they've lost, were by a combined 7 points. So as a Battlehawks fan, that sucks. One was a cartoonishly long 64-yard field goal. I don't know if you saw the tape of that.
Yeah, I did see that.
The kid made it not once but twice because we iced him and he made it. And then he kicked it again. Looked like he could have made it from 70 yards out.
So he pulled a Nick Folk. Let's go.
Yeah, oh my God, just ridiculous. But anyhow, looking at the XFL conference championship, St. Louis clinches a playoff spot, not necessarily home field advantage, but St. Louis clinches a playoff spot. If they beat the DC Defenders this weekend, San Antonio clinches a playoff spot if they beat your Arlington Renegades and St. Louis.
Bob Stoops. Let's go Stoops.
Right now, the only team that could potentially squeak in over the San Antonio Brahmas is the DC Defenders. They're banged up to hell. Right now, AJ McCarron, my quarterback, is banged up. He's going to miss this week, but we've got some quality backups, one of which was a
AJ McCarron, smart guy, by the way. I mean, I know that, he might be injured right now, but my thing is, and I talked about this at some point in our fantasy group, was just how I think the UFL is the perfect situation for quarterbacks like AJ McCarron, who are the guys they want to play. They still want to play, but they're not going to get that PT in the NFL. And so now you can come down to the UFL, keep yourself sharp, as the backup quarterback, get some playing time with live action, live games, live pressure, and who knows? I mean, look at Kurt Warner went to the Arena League. You never know, but I'm loving, even though I don't, consume it all that much. I am loving what the UFL is actually doing and becoming kind of like a minor league, semi-pro minor league, system for
almost
the
like
NFL.
AAA football.
Yes, and that's honestly not a bad thing because we don't have spring football. It gives them an opportunity to compete with those with during that time period, and gives us that football during that time period, and more importantly, like we've seen players who have come into the NFL from that.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. I mean, look at a lot of these. Some of these are quality players, but some of them are just maybe they happen to be from smaller schools and they don't get that much game tape on national TV. But then all of a sudden they tear it up in spring football. And I mean, hell, look at your kick returner right now, who's made a few plays for you on offense too.
They're in Turpin, man.
Yeah,
he's it's Turpin time. Yeah, look, and I think that these return rules are only going to make him more more of a weapon for us. And that's the thing. You're offering up these guys that are, really good athletes, a chance to play. And sometimes, especially, you see these guys that come up, they get better as all of a sudden they figured out when they're 26, 27. That can happen. And a lot of times because the NFL is such a get good now situation, you don't get that time. And maybe this is a place where someone like a Geno Smith, you're going to find those. I think that you're going to find a lot more quarterbacks like that are going to end up, playing in the UFL for a number of years, kind of figuring out the game almost. And maybe that's what allows them to come and make an NFL team. Maybe not as a starter, but, a lot of backups, can develop out of that, and then maybe you do get a couple starters because that will happen. Not everybody's come out and immediately be the Jesus of football the minute they're drafted.
Right.
I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be that, but I think he's going to be good. But he's still a rookie, and this is still the NFL, bro.
100%. And one thing I would like to see, I don't think that they're looking at expanding until the year after next. But like I said, them taking basically between two leagues, 16 teams, and condensing it down to 8. You've seen a better quality product on the field. Yes. But I think whenever they do expand, I've talked about it with the guys on the show 100 different times. As biased as I would love to see Seattle get another team again, but I really think that the spring league would do good to kind of take a note from St. Louis, not to be a homer, but look at, I don't know if you've seen any, I doubt it, but if you've seen any of the Battlehawks on TV, any of their home games, they pack the hell out of that stadium. And honestly, a lot of times, like the number that it's at is only because they haven't opened up more seats at what used to be the Ram Stadium there at the Dome. Yeah. But, so take a note from that. Like, hit up these markets that don't have NFL teams or were scorned by the NFL.
That's exactly where you should be going. San Antonio, they have San Antonio, don't they?
San Antonio, and their fans, they have a pretty decent fan base too. But I think for me, my team that I would present, again, I have bias towards Seattle, but I think my top spot for an expansion team would have to be San Diego, and here's why. San Diego just built, I want to say maybe 2-3 years ago, if that, where the San Diego Chargers Stadium used to be, where Qualcomm Stadium used to be. On that same piece of property, they just built a brand new 35,000 seat stadium for the college team down there, SDSU. But it looks a lot bigger, and it's a beautiful stadium. That stadium is less than we're talking like maybe with traffic a 10-minute drive from just an absolutely enormous amount of military housing over there. So you would get kind of a similar situation with St. Louis, where you'd have pissed off former Chargers fans that want football, right? That desperately want football. You'd get that along with a bunch of sailors in the area that just want to drink and watch a football game in person. But I wanted to share this again, and I've shared this a couple of times, but just to kind of give you a perspective here. This is the new stadium that I'll blow this up so you can see it. But this is Snapdragon Stadium. Again, same property that the Chargers' old stadium used to be.
It's a nice stadium, man.
It's a really nice stadium.
I mean, that's a solid, especially for a semi-pro team,
right?
Easily capable of sharing that, with a college school, because hypothetically they're not, even though they do have spring ball, you could schedule around it. But yeah, that's a field.
You can schedule around that.
Yes, that's very shareable. You can schedule
around that, and like some of these markets that they're in, like the UFL is struggling with attendance.
Well, I'll give you another one. That just got scorned. Oakland.
Oh, 100%.
Dude, they just lost their baseball team and their football team to fucking Las Vegas. Like,
yeah,
perfect town to if you wanted to suck up that vacuum, that has been created by these teams gone, and Golden State isn't exactly Golden State anymore in terms of their winnings. So, why not put a semi-pro team there and then you already have the stadium built. It's old and shitty, but hey.
Yeah, that was going to be another thing I'd say is what do they do? Is the Coliseum going to be used for anything? Like, I feel like it's just a matter of time before they end up tearing it down.
More than likely,
it's in rough shape.
Yeah, I mean, but that could give it life for a couple more years. Maybe you don't want to tear it down immediately. Maybe and you can get some use out of it. But anyway, yeah, I could see that as another place. I don't think they will go to Oakland. I do think that the UFL it will expand, and places like San Diego are a great choice. I think the small markets are going to be their aiming point, though. Those areas that. And that's why they have 3 teams in Texas for a reason. It's because Texas is a football state. I think that they have it now. Florida is saturated with they have obviously Tampa Bay and Jacksonville, but and Miami is there, so it might be tough for a place like Florida, but they're Alabama. They
have the Birmingham Stallions there.
Exactly. That's right. See,
but I mean, your point well taken. I think the reason why it's convenient for them to have the 3 teams in Texas is because they're using a hub model right now. So all of the UFL's operations, which is part of what the XFL did last year, is all their operations are actually out of Arlington. Like the teams practice and all their stuff is actually in Arlington, and then they go to their home stadiums,
I see.
At destinations abroad, which I think for them it's a great money saving thing.
I mean, well, look,
while they build their
DFW
brand.
It's a major. I mean, it is the 3rd largest airport in the world for a reason, and and that is that works out perfectly for your travel needs to get pretty much wherever you need to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know how long they'll stay with that hub model. Maybe another year or two, until I think once they build their brand up, maybe they look at, more permanently.
Do you think they go? Do you think they go like to 3 divisions and go to 12 teams, or do you think they leave it at 2 and go to 10 teams just before they, do it a 2 at a time type thing, or are they going to try and do 4 at a time?
That's a good question. I think that they would, if I had,
because I think the max number, by the way, should be 16. I think 16
100%
is the sweet spot that you reach, because you don't need it to be a 32 team.
No, I mean, you look at like so for arena football. I know the AFL tried to make its comeback, and that whole thing is a dumpster fire right now. But if you look at I'm a nerd when it comes to football, but there's another arena league called the IFL, the Indoor Football League. It's an arena league, but they're doing fantastic. They have a 16-team league that spans coast to coast. They're not kind of all scrunched into one part of the country, kind of like the UFL is right now. But they have a 16-team league that they built over time. And they seem to be doing quite well right now. So I 100%.
I mean, are they doing as well as the LFL?
The LFL, it's funny you mentioned they're not actually, it's not called the LFL anymore. It is now the X League.
Yeah, I know.
Think
here's some irony. I actually was a part of the chain gang.
Oh, really?
For one of those games because a buddy of mine who's big in the reffing world and does a lot of semi-pro and also some college and a lot of high school football around the area. He was the head referee. Huh. He actually is the head referee for the league.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
but no, it seemed like they were trying to move, because the LFL, let's be honest, the whole point of it was kind of a gimmick. Here's a bunch of scantily clad broads. But I will tell you though, they tried to kill each other. It's not no, they go out there and try and rip each other's damn heads off.
It is violent.
It's very violent. But I think they're kind of moving away from that. And they had slowly implemented some more, I don't want to say real football uniforms, but they kind of started slowly inching away from.
They were basically a hockey uniform.
Yeah, well, not even. Like the shoulder pads were nothing more than a decoration. You see their, just the whole bit, and they had almost like a lacrosse or a field hockey helmet on.
Here,
you know what I'm saying?
Now, here's another thing brought up by that. You talk about uniforms. I am actually a huge proponent of padless football.
Oh yeah, I think they call that rugby.
Well, yes, but in terms of the NFL, if you wanted to diminish the concussions, the irony is the thing that would do the best is actually getting rid of helmets and shoulder pads, because
it'd be detrimental at first, I'm sure, but
no, actually,
probably
because look, when you have these pads on, as somebody who played, I don't know, you probably played the game too, at least some in Pee Wee or whatever else, high school and stuff. It's like having armor on, you think you're invincible, and that headhunter, I can just throw my head into them type thing comes into play because you have that. But look at rugby in terms of the numbers of concussions. It is drastically lower than the NFL, yet it's a constantly moving game. It's a violent game.
Well, I think I was saying that more along the lines of these players are so accustomed to having that armor that you speak of.
Yes.
That they're still,
and it's not going away, by the way. They're never going to get rid of pads.
No. But just in this little thought exercise, I think at first, especially some of these younger players that just want to go and show their ass, as it were, I think they'd still try to tackle similar to the same way that they do with pads on, and you're going to see a few pretty brutal injuries, but kind of maybe along the same lines, like what we were talking about earlier with the pitch clock and the Tommy John surgery, kind of addition by subtraction type of thing, with players like, hey, I learned that mistake one too many times. Don't care to do that again. But no, it's an interesting thought for sure. They're not going to do it. In fact, I think they're already looking at authorizing the Guardian caps.
They've authorized it. It's
become official now.
It is official. You're going to see it. And I think that you might even start seeing it more and more. And I'm not against it. I think that I'm a big proponent of player safety. I dislike how sometimes it has caused the game to change in its physical nature in some ways. But you can't argue with, we don't live in the 1960s anymore where it's like, oh, you broke your arm. Yeah, get back in there, kid. we're like, hey, healthcare is expensive. Come on out.
Right. I'd be curious to look at some of the data, like back in the day when it was just a leather flap that you put on your head, like old school football.
They probably don't even have the data for that,
Right.
just laying around, because a lot of times, a lot of these things weren't recorded either.
No,
I mean, you think about it's just like any disease you have now. People think, well, why have all these cases of Alzheimer's gone up? Because we never knew what it was.
Right.
That's just how it goes. So
Right.
That's the world we live in. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Right.
Stars and Avalanche starting the third period.
Wow.
Still 1-0. Avalanche lead. Fuck the Kronkets.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully they come out ahead. No, but I think that's all the time we got for tonight. We've been going on it for right over an hour and a half at this point. But no, man. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for jumping on the show tonight.
Anytime, Rick.
I didn't have to go solo. It was fun, just kind of a one-off. But who knows? Maybe it'll turn into something later on down the road.
Anytime, man. Anytime that I'm available.
All right. Hey, appreciate it, folks. If you enjoyed the show, make sure that you click that bell there at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Be a friend, tell a friend, and we're going to get on out of here tonight. Peace.
Bye.